Hi, welcome. PhilTurtle here, landlord and property developer, and today I'm interviewing from Landlords Defence, DesTaylor.
Good evening.
Des, you may well know, is a trainer of rent to rent. He's been running HMOs for quite a number of years, been in the property business a long time. And what I've learnt recently is there's not much that Des doesn't know about the incredible amount of legislation surrounding licensing and maintenance. And Des, I've been reading in the press, and I'm reading all about these things called civil penalties. A bit like fines, but they seem to be bigger than the courts hand out. And from what I can see, we've got somebody here who's had a court fine of £20,000 to the managing agent, £7,000 to the landlord. A civil penalty here, £20,000 because there were dangerous electrical mains installations, defective sanitary fitments, and a lack of fire detection. £29,000. And another one here, £7,000 because the guy didn't get a mandatory HMO licence. £100,000 here, a three-bedroom flat above a commercial premises that didn't have the right fire between the commercial and the flats above. £100,000, that's in Newham. Des, what's all this about? Because as a new HMO landlord, this is scaring the pants out of me.
Well, unfortunately, like most things, it's been driven by the people that aren't doing things properly. It's the people who just flout the law, don't wish to do things that keep us safe. And the government has been pushing for a long time, the local authorities have been pushing for a long time to get landlords to do things correctly. And although a large percentage of us do things correctly, each and every one of us is at the risk of forgetting to do things or to get things wrong. I had a property and one of my team hadn't let me know there was a 3-storey building. And because it was a 3-storey building, under the old regime, it needed a licence. And as soon as I found out about this, we went from one Friday to the next Friday getting completely compliant and completely licensed and getting everything done in order to avoid the penalties that come from that. So even I have been open and at risk to these things, as other people are. The situation is, most of us don't even realise half of the things that we need to do, because every single borough across the country has different requirements and guidelines to the next one.
Right.
And then we have restrictions with planning, we have restrictions of licensing, and the most important part here is, are we protecting the lives of the occupants? And with the additional selective licensing that's coming in, over a third of the boroughs have licensing, either HMO licensing or selective licensing specific to them, in a third of each of the London boroughs, and many, many more coming across the UK. Licensing is becoming complex. You've got to get the health and safety right in the house. You've got to make sure that you're following LACORs. And a lot of these things are guidelines.
LACORs is what?
LACORs,
fire safety?
Yeah, it's about fire safety.
Okay.
And LACORs is about fire safety, but it's guidelines. And there's a lot of ambiguity.
Right. Yeah.
And because of the ambiguity, people are taking advantage of this, both the councils and the landlords.
Yeah.
And then it goes to tribunal, and then it goes to tribunal, and then it goes to appeal before some of these things get fixed. But at the same time, of course, the local councils are doing their job correctly, going to enforce. And as they enforce, what we're finding is they're sometimes overzealous, or sometimes a little bit incorrect, or they've interpreted things a little bit differently. So as a result, I found my days, nearly every single day, 1 or 2 inquiries coming from people. And I realised there aren't the people out there to help the people like you who are landlords who need this help. So I got together and started building an organisation called Landlords Defence, so that we could help landlords who, as I keep finding, are getting civil penalty notices with £15,000, £20,000, £25,000.
I know, the figures in here are horrendous.
And these either need to be withdrawn or they need to be done correctly. And with each item that you are incorrect, generally being about a £5,000 fine, or penalty as they call it, even some of the best people get caught out, because you do something, you get it, you follow their guideline, you go back to the house, they go on a day when you're least expecting it, the people in the house have done things you weren't expecting them to do, and you get caught out. It can be really as simple as we've had in a house recently. Somebody goes out and decides that they don't like your mattress. They go and buy their own mattress. They take the mattress off the bed and leave it in the hallway, hence blocking a fire exit.
It's not even necessarily blocking, is it? It's just obstructing.
Just
and
obstructing.
you're liable for £5,000 or maybe more.
Yeah. So same thing. Well, if you can imagine, a blocked exit in the event of a fire is seen very, very seriously, and in the event of in the wake of the Grenfell disaster,
Horrendous.
We're all being held accountable.
No landlord should be taking any risks with fire safety. It's just we should never do that to our residents. Never.
No, and if you talk to a fireman about when things go wrong and when people die in fires, you'll begin to realise how serious this is. And it's our obligation as landlords to protect the people, but it's also, I feel, very important that we mustn't be incorrectly convicted or held as convicted for things that we've done correctly. And occasionally the councils do get this wrong. But when you receive that civil penalty notice or that planning contravention notice, that's when I mean this clearly and in a friendly way, your psychological makeup will change. You will need help. So hence that's why Landlords Defence is here as the first port of call in the event of these things happening to you inadvertently or through negligence known or unknown.
Okay, so where do we get hold of you, Des? If we've got a problem or we've got a civil penalty notice, we've had a warning from the council, anything like that, where do we get hold of you?
Well, the best place to go is to our website, and we've shortened it to make it easy for you, which is lldl.co.uk. That's lldl.co.uk. And if you go there, you should be able to contact us through the form on the site, or you can call into the office where one of the team will help you on 0208 088 0788. That's 0208 088 0788.
Okay, great. Now, going back to my list of penalties that I was looking through earlier, I can see here that there's a number of penalties. There's one here, 7,000 in Brent, for failure to have a selective licence. Now, that's nothing to do with HMOs, is it?
Nothing to do with HMOs. A number of boroughs have taken areas or criteria of houses that they require them to be licensed by the landlord if he's renting the property out. And we're seeing this in a third of the London boroughs. We're seeing it in sections of the North West, the North East and the Midlands as well. Any council can go to consultation and they can decide for whatever reason, normally because there's a lack of housing stock, or there's antisocial behaviour issues, or any issue for which they feel they need to license an area, and there is a consultation done, so it's normally selected in the proper way. They can impose selective licensing. So in the area of the London Borough of Newham and other boroughs, they have selective licensing right across. So every landlord who owns a property needs to license the property.
Yeah, they have it just up the road from here in Hastings.
Yeah,
it's been in for a couple of years now. Yeah.
And now when we talk here, we are talking about in England. Some of the Consumers Association has recently been talking about landlord licensing. We don't have landlord licensing in England. We have property licensing. But in Wales they do, and in Scotland they do. So we are specifically talking about England.
Another set of differences. I mean, one thing that strikes me about all of this is that all this licensing and regulatory stuff, it totally varies depending on which town and often which area of which town you're in.
Absolutely.
Different rules. There's no standardisation to it at all, is there?
No. The other thing that you are going to find is many of you may well be serviced accommodation operators. And this is an area that you may find that the council's decided you're running an HMO. They may not. The law is very complex on this and full of ambiguity and loopholes. It depends which game you wish to play, but quite frankly, it is now becoming a difficult game of chess.
It certainly is. Now, one for buy-to-let landlords, for people with single lets. Now, I've discovered that there's something that I've coined the phrase unintentional HMO, because, now let me see if I can get this right, Des. if you've got 3 people living in a shared accommodation from 2 families, so 2 are related by blood, 1 is not, that's an HMO, isn't it? Now?
Well, that depends.
Okay.
So if it's my property, I live in it, I'm the landlord and owner, and I have 2 lodgers, then it doesn't fall under HMO regulations.
Okay.
Right? But if I rent it to, say, a guy and a girl who are living together as a couple,
Right. Yeah.
and they decide that they've got a second bedroom and they want to rent that to their friend, another couple, now we have 2 households and 4 occupants.
Right.
Well, at the 3rd occupant, it became a house in multiple occupation. Now, when I say a house in multiple occupation, with occupation means occupants.
Okay.
Now, it gets licensing at 5, but regulations kick in at 3 and 4.
Okay, so now this is a really important point which frightened the hell out of me, I must say, and that is, if, let's say, I'm renting a flat with my partner,
Yeah.
and let's say my brother fell out with his wife and moved in for a few weeks. So, actually no, my brother's not, my best mate. So,
if it's your best mate, if it's your brother, his family,
yeah,
so it's okay.
Okay, so let's say it's my best mate, moves in for a few weeks because he's got problems.
Yes.
So it's me and my partner that count as one family unit. Friend is another family unit.
Absolutely.
And I'm renting this property, but I've just let my mate come in.
Yeah.
Have I just created an HMO for my landlord?
You have, and your landlord now is required to comply with the management of houses in multiple occupation regulations from 2006, which means he needs to ensure that he's done the fire safety and that you have a secure, protected route in the event of a fire, and various other things that he needs to do, which I won't go into now. But we always focus on fire protection. So there would be certain things required, such as smoke alarms being changed and upgraded. There would be things such as a minimum as a fire door on the kitchen. So inadvertently, people are becoming HMO landlords without realising this.
Now
this is scary letting agents,
isn't it? Well, it should do. It should do. Because suddenly, I mean, it's such a simple thing. It happens all the time. A couple's renting a flat. One of their mates moves in for a while. But they've created a situation now where their landlord is suddenly liable to all these civil penalties because he hasn't done the fire doors, he hasn't got the fire alarms. How scary is that? There's a lot of buy-to-let landlords out there, I think, that need Des's help with this.
Well, yes, and think about this. You've got a couple living together. One or other of one of their friends leaves another couple and comes to move in. Now, out of spite, the person who's moved in, their now ex-partner, understands about the law and decides, let's have a little call to the council, or a little tap on the council's website and put in, is this house licensed, as happens in the London Borough of Brent.
Right.
And then the council then will follow up whether it needs to be licensed or not. So there could be spiteful things done,
right,
which could cause things to happen that a landlord is completely unaware of. So this leads to a couple of things. One, make sure you're managing your property properly. And if you're not, get somebody who knows how to. That may be a letting agent, but understand that not all letting agents are up to speed, so you need to find out whether they do understand all of these things. If not, we can train them. That's not an issue either. And if you're renting your property out in a rent-to-rent situation, please understand that if you're letting that out to a company that's going to sublet, which is completely legal, that they understand their responsibilities to you in order to be properly licensed, to comply with planning, and to carry out all the necessary requirements of HMO regulations. It's very, very important. And nearly every day, somebody's coming to me, generally a landlord, where houses are overcrowded, or they didn't realise how many people were going to be in the house, or they didn't realise that it was going to be sublet in the way it was going to be, or they didn't realise it was being used as serviced accommodation, and they find out that they're in breach of planning because they've been there for they've been doing it for more than 90 days in the year in the London area. there's so much to consider. So we'd be very happy to talk to you. We do take initial calls and give you basic advice. If we need to get into specialist advice, of course, like you work for a fee, we work for a fee too.
Okay, that's good. Now, when is an HMO not an HMO? Let's continue that. There's a 5-person HMO. That's the what's the word for it?
House and multiple occupation.
No, the license, the requirement for the license, mandatory license.
Mandatory license,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's everywhere in England.
Yes,
If you get to 5 people and 2 households,
yes,
you've got to have a mandatory license.
it's mandatory license is required, and required mandatory means the same thing.
Yeah.
But a mandatory license applies, and that has been the case since the 1st of October. There are many people who may not realise this and haven't done anything about it, and the fines are unlimited.
Because that changed, didn't it, on the 1st of October last year?
1st of
Because
October.
it used to be, and it had to be 3 stories.
Well, it was
That's
about
gone.
all the stories have
Yeah.
changed, and there's it doesn't
count
matter anymore.
No.
But what does matter, and what is most important, is that you understand room sizes for adults, for single occupation or dual occupation, and you also understand limits on what is needed with regards to bathrooms, to kitchens, to sinks in kitchens, cookers in kitchens, sizes of kitchens, whether it's a kitchen diner. There's a lot to consider. So do let us know if you need any help.
Yep, because I've been looking at quite a lot of 3-bedroom houses lately, as you know.
Yeah.
And here in Eastbourne, very standard post-war and Victorian 3-bedroom houses. And this was with the objective of turning them into 4-person HMOs. Use the dining room as one of the bedrooms. But they've all got this small, tiny little bedroom, sometimes called the box room, and they are 4.7, 4.8 square metres. But the legal limit now for letting them in a licensed HMO is 6.51.
It's 6.51 square metres or
70 square feet.
70
Yeah.
square foot in old money.
Yeah.
And although this doesn't apply to those that don't require a licence of 3 or 4 occupants, I think we're going to see that they're going to begin to implement this, because this is a little bit of the law that the central government hasn't picked up on, but local government is massively picking up on.
And that's going to take an awful lot of rooms out of the market, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I was talking to one of the country's leading HMO landlords recently, and he's running a very interesting HMO, which when he applied for licensing, they said it doesn't need licensing. But now we're getting into HMOs with hundreds of occupants, and there's a whole new world out there. But of course, at that level, you have to get planning permission as well. So it's a changing world. It's a changing environment. More and more people, as we see, are beginning to rent. Many less people are buying properties, hence the Help to Buy schemes, etc. And the Help to Buy schemes are going to be preventing landlords or owners of properties turning them into HMOs inadvertently, dare I say, by taking in more than 2 lodgers. So we're going to see some of the things that have existed and been okay, maybe in the past, are not going to be okay in the future.
Right, that's very true. DesTaylor, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. Guys, I think a lot of you will realise from what Des has been saying that you need some serious help with the licensing issues, and there's a document called the HMO Management Regulations, is it?
Management of House in Multiple Occupation Regulations 2006.
Thank you. It's only about 6 pages, but it's so damning. It's so incredibly damning. I was at a seminar before Christmas, and there was a landlord there who had been hauled up by the council, put through a police-style interview called a
PACE interview.
Okay, I'm glad you could remember that because I couldn't. But he'd been hauled up at and hit with civil penalties of £5,000 per item for a piece of furniture on the landing, as you mentioned before, a blown light bulb in the staircase, plenty of others, but one was gone, and that was £5,000. The grass in the garden was above ankle level, £5,000. There was a broken slat in one of the fence panels, another £5,000. And there was a whole string of other things. It added up to £180,000, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
But guys, you can be hit with this so easily. So look, have a look at the Landlords Defence website, landlordsdefence.co.uk or lldl.co.uk. If you want help, then just email help@lldl.co.uk, help@lldl.co.uk, or give them a ring 0208 088 0788, 0208 088 0788. Thank you, Des.
Thank you.